Welcome to this in-depth guide on Laravel Service Container and Dependency Injection. These are the most powerful and most misunderstood features in the entire Laravel framework. By the end of this video you will understand exactly how Laravel works under the hood and write cleaner, more professional code. What is the Laravel Service Container and why does it matter? The Laravel Service Container is a powerful inversion of control container that manages class dependencies and performs dependency injection throughout the entire framework. It is the heart of Laravel. Almost everything in the framework flows through it. Every time you use a controller, a model, a facade, or a helper function in Laravel, the service container is working behind the scenes to resolve dependencies, instantiate classes, and wire everything together automatically without you writing a single new keyword. What happens inside Laravel on every request? What is dependency injection and why should every developer care? Dependency injection is a design pattern where a class receives its dependencies from outside, rather than creating them internally. Instead of a class using the new keyword to instantiate what it needs, those dependencies are passed in through the constructor or method parameters. Without dependency injection, your classes are tightly coupled, impossible to test, and hard to maintain. With dependency injection, your classes are loosely coupled, easily testable with mocks, and follow the solid dependency inversion principle. The D in solid, without divs with D, the fundamental difference. Request to amount, n mailer minus greater than send, mailer to send, mailer minus greater than send, request to email, order confirmed, n logger to log, order placed, n, with dependency injection. Loosely coupled, good, n class order controller, n public function underscore construct, n private mailer interface $mailer, n private payment interface $payment, n private logger interface $logger, n public function store, request $request, n $this to payment to charge, request to amount, n this minus greater than mailer minus greater than send, this to mailer to send, this minus greater than mailer minus greater than send, request to email, order confirmed, n $this to logger to log, order placed, n. How does Laravel container resolve dependencies automatically? Laravel service container uses PHP reflection API to inspect the class constructor, read the type hints of each parameter, and automatically instantiate and inject the correct dependencies, a process called auto-wiring. This means if your controller constructor type hints a service class, and that service class type hints a repository class, Laravel will automatically build the entire chain of dependencies and inject them, all without any configuration needed from you. Laravel auto-wiring, automatic dependency resolution. How to bind classes into the Laravel service container? You register bindings inside service provider classes. Specifically in the register method, Laravel provides multiple binding methods. Bind, for a new instance each time. Singleton, for the same instance every time. Instance, to bind an existing object. And scoped, for a singleton per request lifecycle. The most important distinction to understand is bind vs singleton. With bind, every time the container resolves your class it creates a brand new instance. With singleton, it creates the instance once and returns the same object on every subsequent resolution. Perfect for database connections, config managers, and API clients. All Laravel container binding methods explained. App, n return new cache manager, n app, config, cache, driver, n $app, config, cache.ttl, n instance, bind an already created object, n $API client equals new GitHub API client, env, githubtoken, n $this to app to instance, GitHub, $API client, n scoped, singleton per request lifecycle, n $this to app to scoped. Cart service, class, function, app, n return new cart service, app to make, session manager, class, n bind with closure, custom instantiation logic, n $this to app to bind. Mailer interface, class, function, app, n if, app, to environment, testing, n return new fake mailer, n return new mailgun mailer, env, mailgunkey, n What are interfaces and why use them with the container? An interface defines a contract, a set of methods that any implementing class must provide. When you bind an interface to a concrete class in the container, your entire application depends on the interface contract rather than a specific implementation, making it trivially easy to swap implementations later. This is the most powerful pattern in professional Laravel development. Your controllers and services never know or care which specific class is doing the work. They only know the interface contract. Swap Stripe for PayPal. Swap Mailgun for SendGrid. Swap MySQL for MongoDB. Change one line in your service provider and nothing else in your app needs updating. Interface binding. Swap implementations in one line. This to app to bind. Payment gateway interface. Class. Stripe payment. Class. N. Change to PayPal anytime. N. Thus to app to bind. Payment gateway interface. Class. PayPal payment. Class. N. N. Step 4. Use in controller. Never changes regardless of implementation. N class. Checkout controller extends controller. N public function __ construct. N private payment gateway interface $payment. N. N. N public function charge. Request $request. N $result equals $this to payment to charge. Request to amount. USD. N return response. To JSON. $result. N. N. What are contextual bindings in Laravel? Contextual binding allows you to tell the container to inject different implementations of the same interface depending on which class is requesting it. This solves the problem of needing two different implementations of the same interface in different parts of your application. A real-world example is logging. Your order service might need a database logger while your payment service needs a file logger. But both type hint the same logger interface. Contextual binding lets the container inject the right logger into the right service automatically. Contextual binding for different implementations. How to resolve classes out of the container manually? Although Laravel automatically injects dependencies through Constructor Injection, there are times when you need to manually resolve a class out of the container. For example, inside a closure, a console command callback, or a static context where injection is not available. Laravel provides multiple ways to manually resolve from the container. The app helper function, the app facade, the resolve helper, and calling make directly on the application instance. All four do exactly the same thing. Resolve and return the class with all its dependencies injected. 4 ways to manually resolve from the container. Payment equals app. Payment gateway interface. Class. N payment to charge. 1000 USD. N. N. Method 2. App facade. Nus illuminate. Support. Facades. App. N mailer equals app. Make. Mailer interface. Class. N. N. Method 3. Resolve. Helper. N mailer equals app. Make. Mailer interface. Class. N. N. Method 3. Resolve. Helper. N mailer equals app. Make. Mailer interface. Class. N. N. Method 3. Resolve. Helper. N logger equals resolve. Logger interface. Class. N. N. Method 4. App to make. Inside service provider. N public function boot. N $service equals $this to app to make. Report service. Class. N $service to generate daily report. N. 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 Resolve with runtime parameters. N report equals app. To make with. Report generator. Class. N. Start date equals greater than the 1st of January 2026. N. End date equals greater than the 31st of December 2026. N. Format equals greater than PDF. N. 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 Check if binding exists in container. NIF. App. To bound. Payment gateway interface. Class. N $payment equals app. Payment gateway interface. Class. N. Real world example. Building a clean service layer with the most practical use of dependency injection in Laravel is the service layer pattern where you extract all business logic out of controllers into dedicated service classes. Controllers become thin. They only handle HTTP input and output. All business logic lives in services that are injected via the container. This pattern makes your code dramatically easier to test, maintain, and scale. Your controller tests only test HTTP behavior. Your service tests only test business logic. Each class has one responsibility and one reason to change. The single responsibility principle in action. Complete service layer pattern with the data. N this minus greater than payment minus greater than charge. This to payment to charge. This minus greater than payment minus greater than charge. Data. Amount. USD. N this minus greater than mailer minus greater than send. This to mailer to send. This minus greater than mailer minus greater than send. Data. Email. Order confirmed. N this to logger to log. Order created. Single quote. $order to id. N return $order. N public function cancel order. Int $order id. Bool. N $order equals $this to repository to find. Order id. N this minus greater than payment minus greater than refund. This to payment to refund. This minus greater than payment minus greater than refund. Order to transaction underscore id. N this minus greater than mailer minus greater than send. This to mailer to send. This minus greater than mailer minus greater than send. Order to email. Order cancelled. N return this minus greater than repository minus greater than delete. This to repository to delete. This minus greater than repository minus greater than delete. Order id. N thin controller only handles HTTP. N class order controller extends controller. N public function underscore construct. N private order service interface order service. N public function store. Store order request $request. N $order equals $this to order service to create order. Request to validated. N return response. To JSON. Order. 201. N public function destroy. Int $id. N $this to order service to cancel order. Id. N return response. To JSON. Message equals greater than order cancelled. N. How dependency injection makes testing dramatically easier. The single biggest benefit of proper dependency injection is testability. When your classes receive their dependencies through the constructor, you can pass fake mock objects during testing instead of real implementations, allowing you to test business logic in complete isolation without touching the database, sending real emails, or charging real payments. Laravel's testing toolkit integrates perfectly with the service container. You can swap any binding with a mock using the swap method in your tests, or use Laravel's built-in mail, fake, queue, fake, and event, fake, helpers that work by swapping container bindings internally. Testing with mocks using dependency injection. Common mistakes developers make with the service container. The most common mistake is resolving dependencies inside method bodies using app, instead of injecting them through the constructor. This hides dependencies, makes classes hard to test, and defeats the entire purpose of having a container in the first place. Another frequent mistake is overusing singletons when bind is more appropriate, registering business logic inside boot instead of register, and forgetting to bind interfaces to implementations, causing target is not instantiable errors that confuse beginners for hours. Common container mistakes and correct solutions. Data. Amount. USD. N. Correct. Inject through constructor. N class good order service. N public function underscore construct. N private payment gateway interface payment. Good. N public function create order. Payment. Good. N public function create order. Payment. Good. N public function create order. Data. N this minus greater than payment minus greater than charge. This to payment to charge. This minus greater than payment minus greater than charge. Data. Amount. USD. N. Mistake 2. Forgetting to bind interface. N. Results in target. Payment gateway interface. Is not instantiable. N. Fix. Always bind in service provider. N. This to app to bind. Payment gateway interface. Class. Stripe payment. Class. N. Mistake 3. Business logic in register. N public function register. N user. All. Wrong. DB not ready yet. N. Fix. Business logic goes in boot. N public function boot. N user. All. Correct. All services registered. N. The Laravel service container and dependency injection are what separate junior developers from senior Laravel engineers. Master these concepts and every other Laravel feature. Queues, events, testing, packages will make complete sense because they all use the same container under the hood. Start by refactoring one controller today. Extract its logic into a service class. Bind it in a service provider. And inject it. And you will immediately feel the difference in code quality. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video on mastering Laravel Service Container and Dependency Injection, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss the next part. Drop your answer in the comments below and see you in the next video.
Here is your knowledge check question. What are interfaces and why use them with the container? Drop your answer in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. See you in the next video.